Hi everyone, it is Robin from Western Massachusetts. I am the co-host of the Sunday Morgellons call. Today is Sunday, March 27th, 2022, and I am thrilled to be here with all of you guys. Morgellons is not there's no quick fix, and I'm so thankful for Richard Kuhn's and his book and his protocols and his diet or eating plan, because there's not a lot out there that actually works that can help us, and people go down rabbit holes of try this, try this, try this. But I feel like I'm so grateful because when I found Richard and his book, I found clear answers that work. And I honestly think that Richard is, the leading expert on Morgellons in the world today, because doctors aren't trained in that area, unfortunately. There's not a lot of research. I mean, it's hopefully slowly changing, but Richard never stops researching, never stops learning, and he has us for his research team, which I'm sure helps a lot. So, and he's here for us every Sunday, which is just wonderful. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Richard Kuhn's, author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for the introduction. Perhaps you saw this Facebook post an hour ago. It says, "You will get a miracle in 1 hour." Well, here we are. Your miracle is here. And a phenomenal topic. Mary, would you read the email that we got, that I got in the mail?
Greetings, Richard. I have been following you and your information since my body was hijacked. I recently had a stool sample sent to a lab, and I was told that I have a parasite called Mancinella perstans. I have never traveled outside of the country, but apparently I was bitten by a black fly, biting midge, or mosquito. I've read about it, and it demonstrates my symptoms to a T. The larva that people are claiming to see from their skin is the fly larva, and doctors in the U.S. know nothing. I have been going to traditional doctors for 3 years, and my stools were tested, and so was my blood, but I was told that I did not have anything. Finally, I found a parasitic doctor who sent my stool to LabCorp, and it was discovered. I have been taking ivermectin and albendazole so far. A friend suggested that I make a tobacco smoothie with Red Man tobacco, and the worms came pouring out. I think tobacco works best. I continue your diet because it has been the best way for me to maintain my life. I don't believe anything will work unless it is done concurrently with the diet. I just wanted to share my findings, and unfortunately, I am breeding these things. The best way for my family to not catch this is to wear insect repellent. I just wanted to share my findings with you because I know that you are the only one that really gives a damn and will distribute the information appropriately. Thank you for all you do. I pray for you often. You are truly a blessing. Respectfully, Olita.
Thanks for reading that, Mary. Wow. I looked up that parasite. It is, an intestinal parasite. And today's email that went out would be also published on the blog, goes into my responses, which I'll summarize briefly, and also the treatment protocol that she is on with albendazole and ivermectin for anybody to look at. Now, we're here talking about Morgellons disease. Now, what the hell do intestinal parasites have to do with Morgellons disease? What, Well, back on 10/4/2020, there was an update that I put out. And, there are different types of parasites that do affect Morgellons disease. Protozoa, or single-celled organisms, helminths, which are typically worms, pinworms, roundworms, flatworms, tapeworms, and I don't even know how to pronounce this, ecoparasites, organisms such as mites and columbella that we talked about. In fact, we talked about mites last week was the topic, the subject. All right. Now, in a YouTube video, there's Dr. Todd and Dr. Watt, in which they claim that if you've got a heartbeat, you have intestinal parasites, hands down. All right. Now, when we're looking at Morgellons disease, you know, okay, so what? What's the big deal? What's it got to do with Morgellons? Well, when we're looking at Morgellons disease, there are a couple of public enemies. Public enemy number one is fungal infections. Candida albicans, skin fungus, mold, and other internal fungal organisms, of which there are many. That's number one. Number two public enemy are the various helminths, the nematodes, which is the subject of today's call. Now, in that video with Dr. Todd Watt and Jay Davidson, they lay out a treatment schedule, okay? And this is what these organisms have to do with Morgellons. If you're going to treat any disease, doesn't matter whether it's cancer or whatever, diabetes or whatever the disease might be, the first thing you deal with and take, you see, all these are variables and they can complicate things, just as Mary read that note from Alita. You read these Facebook posts. Oh, yes, I did this and I got rid of my Morgellons. Yay, this is a cure, this is a cure. All right, fine. You do this, what they say, and it doesn't work. Why? Well, because you've got cofactors. Cofactors they didn't have. So number one is to deal with intestinal parasites. Get them out of the picture. Get them out of the way. So that the bottom line is, Morgellons by itself, as I've said many times, is not a big deal. It's all the cofactors that complicate things. I know from, at least from looking at the many thousands of questionnaires that I've gotten over the years, that 90% of the people who are dealing with Morgellons are also dealing with fungal organisms, which I mentioned earlier. They're also dealing with columbella, springtails, snow fleas, which we talk about often. And 100% of us, according to these two doctors, are dealing with intestinal parasites. And I don't question that at all, because that is totally, intestinal parasites are totally ignored by the medical community. Mary, there was a second email. Do you have that one about parasites as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That one says, I told you I have black worm living inside me. It produces all the time. You said to buy Fenbenzadol. I checked the stores. They don't carry it. They said it's for dogs who have worms and not for people to take.
That's so funny. Okay. Well, Robin, would you read the, let's make sure that we're all here on the same page. There are symptoms of intestinal parasites. Would you be kind enough to read the list of symptoms?
Sure. So the first three symptoms are abdominal bloating and discomfort, fatigue, rashes, which are sometimes a symptom of strong gliiodes, and all three of those symptoms are from internal parasites such as pinworms, roundworms, hookworms, tapeworms, and so on. But then again, there's also symptoms that include anemia, appetite, satiety, I don't know how you say that word, changes, bruxism, which I don't know what is, digestive woes.
Yeah, let me tell you, bruxism is grinding of teeth.
Oh, that's caused by, that's interesting.
They grind their teeth. which is strange as a symptom of parasites. Yeah,
Right.
But, yeah.
That is interesting, although anxiety can also do that, right?
Oh, many things can cause stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joint and muscle pain, which is also associated with Lyme disease. Past food poisoning, interesting. Skin issues. It looks like Morgellons, mites, and collembola just love nematodes. Sleep problems and traveler's diarrhea.
So there you have it, and believe me, I think probably most of us on this call can ring up one or two of those as symptoms. And like I said, the first thing is to deal with intestinal parasites. Get them out of the picture. The first thing we recommend, and again, let me get into the FDA disclosures. The FDA requires me to inform each and every one of you that before you start the King Diet or accept any of our recommendations that we discuss here on the program or by email or in my book or whatever, that you thoroughly discuss them with your medical doctor to make sure they do not interfere with any health problems you are experiencing. The AMA and FDA also require me to inform you that we are not trained as medical physicians. We are not trained to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate any skin disease or disease, period. What we can do is we can educate you. We can educate you how to use the King Diet to your benefit, how to clean these organisms out of your skin, clean them out of your body, clean them out of your environment. And we can educate you as to which are the targeted supplements to build health and immune functioning. That's what we are allowed to do. Okay, now the first thing, and we did a segment on this about 2-3 weeks ago, is to incorporate diatomaceous earth in your daily routine. Take it on an empty stomach, 1 teaspoon and a glass of water on an empty stomach twice a day. There is an accelerated application of this that you can also increase from 1 teaspoon a day to 1.5 teaspoons and so forth, up to, I forget how many teaspoons, 2 or a tablespoon.
2 tablespoons.
Up to 1 tablespoon, and then you may stop for a few days or a week and then continue again. So this protocol is in the blog, and you can go into the blog at bestmorgellonscure.com and to the blog and search for diatomaceous earth, and you'll find the protocols listed there. The second thing that is phenomenal is our mouthwash. Remember, nature's gift is liquid carbon. You have charcoal that you consume as a solid to help cleanse the body. Well, this is nothing more than liquid charcoal. And it likewise cleanses your system, cleanses your body. So as you use the nature's gift mouthwash to freshen your mouth, that hold it in there to help dissolve the biofilm, to help cleanse your mouth, you can then swallow it and do that 2 or 3 times a day, maybe a half a teaspoon for starters, and help begin cleansing your body. So there are 2 very inexpensive things to do to begin the cleaning process. Now, she mentioned that she was on Fenbenzadol. No, she was on Albendazole, and that she was also on ivermectin. Okay. Now, what does Science Direct say about Fenbenzadol? Robin?
Fenbenzadol is an antihelminthic used to treat common helminth infections, including ascarids, hookworms, whipworms, and a single species of tapeworm, Tyaina pisiformis. Giardia spp are also considered susceptible to fenbenzadol. Fenbenzadol binds beta-tubulin subunits of microtubules, interfering with their polymerization.
Great, thank you. So Fenbenzadol, according to the doctor that we work with, Dr. Luna, who does have, Dr. Luna is in Mexico, and he has a cancer clinic there. And as I stated early on, dealing with co-infections is number one. So Dr. Luna, with all his cancer patients, the first thing he does is he provides lufenuron, all right? Now, remember I said the number one enemy of Morgellons is fungal organisms? Well, lufenuron is targeted at inhibiting fungal organisms to grow in the body, inhibiting. It inhibits the creation of chitin. So whatever fungal organisms are there, it is stopped with lufenuron. They don't continue to propagate and continue to be a problem. So that's cofactor number one with cancer. Cofactor number two, in fact, there's even some research that says Fenbenzadol can be effective in the treatment of certain cancers. Well, so he brings in Fenbenzadol to work with the intestinal parasites and also benefit the fact that he's working with cancer patients. Fortunately, he has access to these medications and provides them through his website to anyone in our program who, now, if you look at my recommendations, if you complete the questionnaire and send it in, and if you haven't done it, the questionnaire was linked to it in the very first email you had ever gotten from me, where you got to the free ebook and the questionnaire. You can always email me and request the questionnaire, and I'll send it out. And I'll do a complete evaluation with complete recommendations depending on your answers. And the first recommendation, aside from the diet, which we've often talked about, and as a lady mentioned that wrote in about these intestinal parasites that she found, you know, you can't find an expert. Do you know how many intestinal parasites there are, Robin? Do you know how many?
Thousands.
40,000. There's no doctor, nobody that can be an expert in all of these, much less even find them, okay, and be able to identify them. Robin and I were discussing before the program started. She was fortunate to have a doctor who had done tests and is familiar, but many of us, we've already been labeled as delusional. You go to the doctor, and I was listening to some of the comments before the program started, and I think perhaps one lady might even share she had been to dozens of doctors already and got nowhere. And usually it takes no more than about 4 or 5 doctors before you get the delusional diagnosis. That is the ICD-9 code. It means that you're a mental case from here on. Your Social Security is recorded, and every doctor that you go to, they check out, you know, they look you up, and they see the diagnosis. And if you say, I think I got worms, well, okay, you've been diagnosed as delusional, and I don't know if you're going to get really good testing from that doctor. I don't know if that doctor's going to take you seriously enough to take the test. Now, if they do take the test, most of them go to LabCorp or Quest Labs. Well, they're not equipped to test for these different parasites. In the note that Mary read, there is a specific lab that does these tests. So you need to go to a doctor. Mary, is there a third email to that that I sent you with the lab noted?
With the lab?
Yeah, the lab. Was the lab noted in a third email I sent you? About
the one email I read mentioned LabCorp.
Yeah, no, she didn't. She sent another one later on that corrected that. I think the last one. There, you have one more from her.
No.
Well, the point is that LabCorp and Quest do not do these diagnostic tests. You might be lucky to get a blood test with an IgR test for strongyloides, I think, from LabCorp now, but with 40,000 different parasites, I doubt that you're going to find a doctor that is linked in with a lab that can test a bunch of different varieties. Sure, they might be able to find pinworms and roundworms or flukes or whatever, but it's highly impractical. So, according to Dr. Luna, albendazole is the human medication. Fenbenzadol is the medical equivalent in the animal world of albendazole. And the recommendation, I think it's 444 milligram tablet 3 times a week, consecutively daily, and then off 4 days and for a period of, I think, 21 days or whatever. Now, when you're doing this, what's important for them to do, Robin, with their liver enzymes?
Get blood work every month or so to make sure that your liver's not getting damaged.
That is true. So we can tell you to move in this direction. Again, discuss this with your doctor. We're not, we're recommending this, but according to the FDA, before you go get lefiniran or before you go get fenbenzadol, legally, you're to discuss this with your medical doctor. All right? That's just, I want to be upfront. And to be on the safe side, get your liver enzymes tested so that if you're using, and Dr. Luna also has ivermectin. He is not a pharmacy like some of these pharmacies online. He only supplies the medications for us and for his cancer clinic, basically. And he's limited to lefiniran, fenben, nitinpyram, which we talked about last week when we talked about beating the mites, and ivermectin. And it's shop for the number 4, shopformorgellons.com. And with each page, there's a description of the medication, and you go scroll to the bottom, and you can see the recommended usage, different usages for ivermectin. I mean, it was a hot topic 5-6 months ago for COVID-19. Everybody was looking for ivermectin. So you can look at the usages there and the different dosages recommended. Now, when it comes to liver enzymes, it's a good idea to have that done if you're even taking NSAIDs like Tylenol with acetaminophen. These also destroy the liver. And I can't believe doctors recommend them over and over and over again, but they do. It's like they're creating their own business by recommending these NSAIDs that have become so popular to try to manage pain. I've never gotten any benefit from Tylenol the few times I've tried to take it. But Excedrin works great for me, and it's also an NSAID. Fortunately, I only take it about maybe 2 times a year whenever I get one of those strange headaches that come along. I'm fortunate that way. Okay, so do you have anything to add, Robin, before we wrap up this segment?
No, I just really do want to encourage people to get the blood work, because my personal experience was I actually damaged my liver 3 times taking these drugs. And you don't really have symptoms. It takes a blood test. So I just want to encourage you, if you're going to go that route,
get your liver enzymes tested.
Yes.
Mary, you had some experience with fenbenzadol that you'd like to share?
Yes. And also I have the email that says, could fenben be toxic? But I know it's not. I'm allergic to almost everything, and I was scared to death to try the fenbenzadol because I was so afraid of what reactions I would have. And it's been nothing but miraculous for me. It has really helped me. It's wonderful.
Great, thank you. Yes, that third email was about, is fenbenzadol toxic? The answer to that is sugar can be toxic if you take too much. So take it accordingly to the instructions, and get your livers tested, and you'll be fine. Okay. Do we have anybody who wants to ask a question in this segment to open the lines to?
I have a question. That medicine that you're talking about, I'm hearing it, but I'm not knowing how to spell it. I know the ivermectin, but what was the other one that you were saying?
Fenben, F-E-N-B-E-N, is short for Fenbenzadol.
F-E-N-D-E-N, Fenbenzadol.
B as in boy.
B as in boy. It's short for Fenbenzadol.
Okay, because I'm taking the ivermectin right now. I finally started that a few weeks ago, and I'm seeing a huge difference. And then, like right away, it seemed to be working, but then I had like a relapse and started moving other areas. So
well,
I started reading about that maybe you should be taking 2 different medications at once.
Well, the Fenbenzadol and the ivermectin can be taken at the same time. And if you look at today's update that went out, it does list what Alita was doing in terms of, what the doctor recommended for her, and also it lists what Dr. Luna suggests. Now, I don't know where you're getting your ivermectin, but the quality is also important, and that's one of the things that we're assured of with Dr. Luna. Is that it's pharmacy grade. You're not getting the type of ivermectin that you might be getting at Tractor Supply for the horse or the cow.
I have to admit, I'm getting it like that way because I can't get it the other way.
Okay.
I'm getting the horse one.
Yeah.
But
well,
you can get it the other way through the website that Richard's just told you about.
You don't want the horse grade. You want the pharmaceutical grade, and it is at shop like SHOP 4 Morgellons.com. Shop for Morgellons.com.
Okay. My husband lost his job with COVID, and after 26 years of being with the same company. So right now, for the first time in my life, we're without insurance. So it's been kind of rough, and somebody told me that ivermectin, you could actually get it online. Of course, I jumped at it, and I'm pretty desperate because I was at my wit's end, and I just wanted to die, pretty much.
Yeah, well, go to that website, read about it, and one of the good things, if you scroll down to the bottom, to the left is a phone number, and if you call that phone number, you'll reach Nancy. And she's a very wonderful person to talk to, and you can ask her any questions about the medications.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? A question?
Hi, I do.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Rachel. Okay, so I guess my question is, say I did have like nematodes or worms at one point, but over the course of like a year and going through help with doctors and blah, 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 took, of course, dewormer and maybe got rid of them. And then 9 months later took the test, stool samples, it showed none. Maybe got rid of those, but then now, so now I'm suffering from, it's not really the same thing, but like what, so you said that it all kind of goes hand in hand, like the fungal and mold stuff is prevalent. What, are there names of like certain types of fungal and bacterial things that have those same like fibers that like make you want to think that like I don't know,
Fibers
I don't know.
are usually Morgellons.
Well, yes, this segment is about the complicating factors of Morgellons, internal parasites. And as I mentioned earlier, fungal organisms are enemy number one, which we often do discuss and talk about, and we can talk about that in the next segment, in the Q&A segment. So let's bring that question back in the next segment.
But they don't leave behind like this stuff, do they? Like after you have them, like that's not what this is. It's very similar.
Well, first of all, I remember I forgot to mention one thing that many people, when they go to look to clear intestinal parasites, they go online to find dewormers, and oftentimes these dewormers contain wormwood and they contain black walnut hull, and you never want to take them because those two ingredients feed springtails, and as I mentioned earlier, 90% of those of us who have Morgellons are also dealing with springtails, according to the questionnaires that I get. So, so if you're thinking, oh well, he didn't talk about the dewormers that we can get and the cleanses that you can get, and there are tons of them. So anything with wormwood or black walnut hull are off our possible list. Now,
yeah, I definitely have liver damage from it. I did it not the right way, for sure.
Yeah.
That showed up in a test. So.
But I'm not really getting the question. What is your question?
My question was, do worms leave some sort of like residue in your body, like antibody, I don't know because I didn't know.
When the idea
person out like I usually do, and I talk about it.
The idea is to clean the worms out. I've never heard of them, once you clean them out, leaving anything behind, because you're going to eliminate it. It's going to be a fecal elimination. Now, there can be what is called detox reactions, which I just realized we didn't talk about, Robin, and that when you are on these, when you're taking the diatomaceous earth, or you're doing the mouthwash and consuming it, or you're doing the Fenben and the ivermectin or whatever you're doing, you're going to be cleaning a lot of these organisms out of your intestines, and it can be real fast. So you can experience detox reactions. Detox reactions can be very
gross.
I know. Diarrhea, you can have all this, and inflammation, and all kinds of detox reactions. You can look them up, Google them on the internet, and you'll find a list. We've done updates about, and we've done programs.
Coming out of my gums. They were coming out, like, I thought eggs were coming out of my gums. I was spitting out so much.
Well, they got to exit somehow. So it overloads your system. And two things that you can do is, one is zeolite. So if you're doing these cleanses with the ivermectin and the fenbenzadol and this, and you're going after them, you may want to go to Amazon and pick up some zeolite. Zeolite is it's an aluminum compound which is not reactive in the body, like, say, for instance, if you're using an antiperspirant that has aluminum in it. So it's non-reactive, and it helps absorb and deal with detox. The healthier way to go is to be on any one of our digestive enzymes, the Agro Relief, or the other one, Fluorocor, but only the Fluorocor can be used with people when they're in stage 2 of the diet, because if you're dealing with columbella, probiotics feed columbella, so you don't want to use that enzyme until you're into middle stage 2. So the safe one is Fluorocor and amino acids. So if you're taking our Nature's Gift amino acids and the digestive enzymes, you will minimize the detox reactions, so you won't be as sick with detox. Okay, so but I don't know of any residue that is left in your body that could be a problem. It's possible, but I don't know of one. Anyone else have a question here for the intestinal parasites?
Oh, I had one more about specific names of, because it says this test does not include testing for, and then but I can't pronounce them, so maybe never mind. I
didn't get that.
Like cryptosporin
Cryptosporidium parvum, Cyclospora, and Microsporidia. Those are it says that it did not test for those, and I don't know what those are, but
I would do
the
go to Google. It's like some kind of fungal issue to me, but I don't know. I'd have to Google it to determine what they are. There are a lot of things you can't get tested for, unfortunately, or even if you could, you don't know where to get them tested for. So, okay. Anything else?
Yes, Richard?
Yes.
This is Mary.
Hi.
I'd just like to remind everybody that these medicines work when you're on the diet.
They do.
They're not as effective if you're not on the diet.
That's a good point. The diet is number one. If you're dealing with Morgellons or Columbella or mites, definitely. Without the diet, you're wasting your time. Okay. Anyone else? Questions about intestinal parasites? Over the years, I've had people telling me they've got they've got movement in their throat or in their cheeks and other parts of the body that indicate maybe some kind of nematode in there. And as I think Fenben, in my experience, does a pretty good job. It doesn't necessarily have to be an intestinal parasite. So it seems to have benefited those with the parasites other than intestinal parasites. So let's not limit it to intestinal parasites. And you can also look at combination of ivermectin and Fenbenzadol. Again, discuss it with your doctor to make sure it won't interfere with any of your health problems you're presently experiencing. Okay, anyone else with questions for this segment? Oh, let's wrap it up.
Director Richard, nobody.
I have one. Yes, I have one more question. I was asking the lady earlier, with Robin, this is my first time calling in. If you had like pinworms as a child, as a young child, and you don't get something to wait, like I never had anything my whole adult life until like, I don't know, I've been suffering with this, 15 to 20 years. I never knew what it was until maybe about 2 years ago. I figured out it's Morgellons. But can what I had as a kid affect what I have now? Did it go all this time and lay dormant and actually,
typically, what I did not mention is that I said every one of us have these organisms. Now, these organisms, because every one of us have them, doesn't mean automatically that they are a problem or an issue. You might be living with these organisms, these intestinal parasites, for years. And it's really no big deal. You're getting along with them, they're getting along with you, then along comes Morgellons, and they go nuts. They go crazy. Yeah. They begin multiplying, they begin growing, they begin, and you get unhealthy. Well, so they are a cofactor that maybe has been there, but needs to be gotten rid of or dealt with now because along comes Morgellons and they get happy and go nuts and crazy. Same with fungal organisms. You may have fungal organisms in your body for years and no big deal. Along comes Morgellons and they suddenly become a big issue.
So if you've had like a fungus underneath your nails, then that's a sign that it leads to Morgellons, because I've had problems with that.
No. A toenail fungal under your nails never leads to Morgellons. Candida albicans does not lead to Morgellons. The fungal organisms themselves do not lead to Morgellons. The intestinal parasites do not lead to Morgellons. Okay? 5G, 4G microwaves do not lead to Morgellons. They complicate it once you have it. They interfere with your immune system. glyphosate, Roundup, herbicide does not lead to Morgellons, but they complicate. It complicates. It destroys your gut biome and makes it so much easier for Morgellons to thrive and to be difficult to deal with. So these are cofactors that make it difficult. They do not cause Morgellons. They do not lead to Morgellons. They just happen to be there and oftentimes are no problem until Morgellons comes into your life, and then suddenly they are a problem and need to be dealt with before you can deal with Morgellons effectively.
Okay, so if I've had this for years and my husband has never caught it, I mean, I'm hearing some people say, you know, he catches it's contagious, this and that, but he, you know, we sleep in the same bed, have been for 25 years, and he hasn't caught anything, and I'm still dealing with this. Is it because it just prefers I'm a good host for it, and it doesn't?
Some internal parasites are contagious, like Strongyloides cervicalis can be contagious. These worms that we were talking about earlier, I don't know if but some can be contagious. EMF is not contagious. Many fungal organs, toenail fungus is not generally contagious that I know of. I mean, athlete's foot is, and some other things. But when we're talking about Morgellons, you're asking if Morgellons is contagious. Now, basically, we have two worlds that we are in here. We have the expertise of the Charles Holloman Association, along with Dr. Strickler, Marianne Middleveen, Dr. Saverly, Dr. Cornish, and Dr. Bransfield, and all these experts who will tell you that Morgellons is not contagious, okay? You cannot give it to someone else. They, for years, have had a conference in Austin, Texas, where they invite people with Morgellons to come to learn about what's going on and share their experiences. They claim it is not contagious. Bullshit. All right? Really? I have to call dozens and dozens of people who email me liars if it's not contagious. Now, is it contagious to everyone? If you read Dr. Saverly's book, she claims it is not contagious. The reason being, she has worked for, I don't know, almost 3 decades with people with Morgellons, close proximity, treating them, and has never caught Morgellons. Oh, big deal. Big deal. All right. I had one lady says, well, I got Morgellons. I got 230 people work for me, and none of them catch it from me. Lucky you. Lucky you. God forbid you have your granddaughter come over and spend a weekend and go home with it, because maybe your granddaughter's susceptible to it, and the 230 people who work for you aren't. We don't know who is contagious or who is susceptible to catching it and who is not. I have many families who write, the lady said, I got it, I gave it to my husband, everybody in the family's got it. Then I got other families, lady writes to me, I got it, and everybody thinks I'm a nut. Nobody else has it in the family. Yeah. They think I'm on drugs, okay? Now, so there you have it. So
that's my whole thing. That's what I've been dealing with for, you know, them thinking I was crazy for the longest time until my husband came across that Skin Deep documentary. Then he realized I wasn't, because it was like, I was
thinking that Skin Deep documentary, you know, it's a lot to do about nothing. That Skin Deep documentary is the same crap that's been circulating for the last 15 years. Oh, yeah, we find it, and we interview people, and it causes misery in their lives, and we don't know how to help them. My God, we don't have a treatment. We don't have a cure. We don't know what to do. Oh, that guy with the king died. He must be full of crap. You know, what does he know? You know, so let's stay scientific. Let's stay scientific, and let's stay with the microscope. So let's examine these things. It's keratin and collagen. That's what creates it. The filaments and fibers. That's what's happening. Let's face it.
Right.
No answers. No answers. Do they know about disinfection? No. You know, if you read Dr. Saverly's book, she says anybody that tries to talk you into disinfection is a charlatan. I'm a charlatan. Because, man, if you don't disinfect them and clean them out of your... Now, you know, when you are on the heavy antibiotics that you go on as being treated as an LLMD, treatment for Lyme disease, doesn't matter where they are. You're not susceptible to them. I mean, you're on heaven. You're on high. I mean, but for many people, it destroys their gut. And when they go off the medications, they get resurgence of the organisms. So, but my job is to tell you to go to those doctors because they are medical doctors. Before you do anything that I suggest, discuss it with your medical doctor. Don't believe me. Discuss it with your medical doctor.
It's unfortunate. Our doctors don't really know a whole lot about it. My dermatologist wanted to charge me $400 for a visit, and she knew nothing about Morgellons. She's like, oh, I just read up on it. She didn't know anything.
I had a gal in Staten Island go to the foremost expert in Manhattan, paid $1,000, and the answer was, you're stressed out. Too much stress in your life. Yeah.
Well, I do have another thing, amalgam fillings. I do have those. I hear that sometimes I have actually extracted stuff from my face from a magnet before. I know it sounds crazy, but it's very, very painful. But I had read about it, and it actually worked. Now, it was pulling out stuff like, I mean, blood and eggs and all kind of stuff, little sharp pieces like metal. I mean, they would actually ding, like when they hit the paper. If I pull them out, they would actually hit. You can hear them hit. It was like shards of metal coming out my face. And so I'm like, I'm guessing this is parasites and toxic metals. So I've heard something about getting your amalgam fillings removed, and that helps take care of it. I don't know. I'm not in a situation where I can afford to do all that stuff right now.
We're talking about a lot of things that belong in the next segment, in the Q&A segment.
Okay.
So let's wrap this segment up.
I apologize.
No problem. No problem. Let's wrap this segment up, and we'll start the Q&A section with your question, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Okay, let's wrap it up, and she'll be on first in the next segment.